what ancient humans did when it rained for 30 days straight. It is 40,000 years ago. You are huddled inside a pitch-black cave. The fire you spent 6 hours nursing just hissed and died. And outside, it hasn't stopped raining for 3 straight weeks. To us, a blown-out campfire means a cold night. In the Ice Age, it means a death sentence. For generations, we've been sold a comfortable lie that ancient humans were helpless victims of the elements, cowering in the dark until the clouds cleared. That is completely wrong. They didn't just survive bad weather. They survived months of it. Relentless, sub-zero downpours that rotted every leaf, saturated every stick of wood, and turned the world into a freezing quagmire. Today, we are breaking down the exact blueprint they used to conquer a month of endless rain. 4 brutal, ingenious steps. How they migrated with living fire, where they found bone-dry fuel in a flooded wilderness. How they engineered waterproof architecture, and the natural pharmacy that saved them from a terminal lung infection. The first rule of survival is absolute. You cannot strike a match if everything is soaked. And ancient humans didn't have waterproof gear, so they solved the problem with something radical. They refused to let the fire die. Archaeological evidence proves that Ice Age hunters carried what we call fire buckets. Hollowed-out animal horns or thick, insulated bark containers packed with smoldering embers and dry moss. Think about the sheer weight of that strategy. They didn't just make fire. They migrated with it, treated it like a breathing, high-maintenance organism they guarded with their lives through blizzards, floods, and thousands of miles of rough terrain. And if disaster struck and the embers went out, they relied on nature's ultimate cheat code, birch bark. Loaded with volatile natural oils, you can rip birch bark off a tree during a downpour, drop a single spark on it, and watch it erupt into flame. Quick fact: a single birch tree could literally keep an Ice Age family alive for a week, providing fire, medical antibiotics, and waterproof material all from one trunk. Embers are useless without fuel, and after 30 days of continuous rain, every twig on the forest floor is essentially a waterlogged sponge. So how did they find dry fuel? They went underground. When an old tree falls, the outer layers soak up moisture like a trap, but deep inside, the heartwood remains bone-dry for weeks. Ancient humans knew to bypass the exterior, split open fallen logs, and harvest that hidden, dry core. When wood failed entirely, they turned to animal fat. Rendered from mammoth or bison and stored in bone containers, this fat burned with intense, steady heat. Drop a small piece of tallow onto a damp branch, and it forces a flame to life against all odds. And for light, they crafted primitive tallow lamps, hollowed stones, a strip of moss for a wick, and animal fat. These tiny lamps burned for hours, casting a claustrophobic glow through the long dark. Imagine spending 30 days in a cave lit only by burning animal fat. That isn't camping. That is raw, psychological endurance. Fire gives you heat, but you still need a roof that doesn't collapse. Caves seem like the ultimate safe haven, but in a month-long downpour, caves turn into underground rivers. To counter this, ancient humans operated like master civil engineers. They built low stone walls at cave entrances to deflect rushing runoff. They dug diversion trenches to steer water entirely away from their sleeping quarters. They constructed raised platforms out of ferns, pine needles, and dried grass to keep their bodies off the freezing, saturated ground. In regions where natural caves didn't exist, groups built massive, dome-shaped structures out of mammoth skulls and tusks, draped in heavy hides, complete with precision-angled smoke holes to let the fire breathe while locking the rain out. These weren't just piles of debris. They were life-saving engineering feats. Here is where prehistoric survival crosses into the extraordinary. 30 days of freezing, damp air attacks the lungs. In the ancient world, a chest infection or hypothermia meant a slow, painful end. Yet they had a fully stocked pharmacy growing right on the trees. Birch polypore fungus. When chewed or pressed into wounds, it released organic compounds that fought off lethal infections. We don't have to guess about this. We have physical proof. When the 5,000-year-old mummified remains of Otzi the Iceman were discovered, he was carrying birch polypore, not as a snack but as medicine. They paired this with willow bark for pain relief, yarrow to clot bleeding wounds, and specialized clay poultices to draw out toxins. This wasn't trial and error. It was a vast library of generational knowledge, refined over 100,000 years. Let that sink in. Your ancestors survived a month of apocalyptic rain armed with nothing more than stones, fat, and fungus. And half of us panic when the home Wi-Fi drops for 10 minutes. Surviving 30 days of uninterrupted rain wasn't about raw physical strength. It was about pure, unyielding resourcefulness. Keep the living fire burning. Dig deep for dry wood. Build structures that outsmart the water. Trust the medicine growing all around you. Next time you're stuck indoors during a storm, remember who came before you. Your ancestors conquered months of freezing darkness using only what they could carve, burn, and carry. If this gave you a whole new perspective on human history, hit subscribe. We break down the hardcore science of survival every single week. And drop a comment below. What other ancient disaster should we survive next? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.